What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am Jess and you are watching Keto Rewind. Today is a week 100 and something 70 week video of my keto transformation. I am live from my car office, my car office, and that's because today my husband has nonstop work calls, so I couldn't film in a cottage with very minimal room. I don't have a big house to spread out. So, and then if you go outside, all you hear is the birds chirping and it might be distracting. And it is what it is. So that's one of the difficulties of filming here versus obviously at my home. It's just, there's a lot of challenges with noise and random people stopping by and stuff like that. So anyways, it is what it is, but I thought the show must go on. So let's talk about my weekly update. Let's jump into the video. Okay, so let's see. First things first, happy 4th of July for everybody, all of us Americans. I hope you enjoyed your 4th. That's why I didn't post my video yesterday. I was also enjoying my day. It was a fun time, especially living at the lake. It's a real special time. And it turned into just playing on the water the whole weekend, not even just yesterday. So, but real quick before we jump into that, I want to talk about one of my new favorite gadgets that I have up here. When I came up here, I said I have a bunch of new things that I was going to tell you about, and one of them is a steak knife or a chef knife. So I've always wanted to try Japanese steak knives. I always see about them, but I've never actually tried one. And the knives that I have up here at camp are horrendous. They're all hand-me-downs from like my parents' house next door, you know, like old knives that I swear to goodness, they don't cut, they wouldn't cut paper. So to go from where I was to with this one knife, I swear it's amazing. So I'm trying out I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, but it's the Mito Santoku knife, and it's a chef knife, and it is amazing. So we have been chopping up everything with this knife, and from anywhere from peppers, onions, or just veggies in general to slicing and trimming down a whole brisket. But they feel so comfortable in your hands. I love the wood handle. I love how sharp it is. It glides through the peppers, the onions. It glides through anything that I've given it a run through. So you've been seeing it in the past couple of my videos. I just didn't want to share it yet, so I gave it a full test. But I am happy to say these are legit. I've actually cut myself a couple times just because I'm not used to a knife this sharp. I highly recommend these. I'm obsessed, and I need to go back and get the whole set now, but I was just going to try this one out. And fortunately, I do have a coupon code for you. This video is not sponsored, but I do have an affiliate link. So you can get 20% off using my link down below, and you can test out these knives for yourself. But oh my goodness, these are amazing. Where have they been all my life? So anyways, let's get back to the video. The past week, I originally set my goal to track using a food diary, all of my macros for the week. The first couple of days, it was so tedious and so disheartening because it was very clear I was eating way more than I thought I had been eating. And that's one of the reasons why every now and then, if you're not seeing any movement on the scale or you just want to switch things up, it's always eye-opening to log your food. So the first 2 days, I was mad because it was like halfway through the day and I had basically eaten all of my macros for the day. And I still had another meal to get in. So, after the first 2 days, I kind of put a little sign of a pity party. I got annoyed with it and I stopped tracking, which I should have tracked all week, but it is what it is. But the point was I needed to see that I was overeating because it's so easy to overeat for me as an emotional eater, as a kind of a binge eater, I eat. The quantity and serving sizes is always an issue for me. So that was something I'm glad I did it. As for continuing with tracking my macros for the rest of the month, at this point, no, because it's opened like a whole nother can of worms that I was going to talk about for this video. Now, my goals for this summer, or my goals for the past couple of months, was to work on the emotional sides of a weight loss journey. I'm not putting as much emphasis on the scale right now as I'm doing this mental work. And while Well, it seems like it would be an easy fix. Just stop eating, eat less. Like there's so much more in a weight loss journey. And if you want to truly keep the weight off, you want to change yourself. I'm learning that the mental side of the weight loss battle is what is the why where so many people fail. They're not working on this section. And I personally, I'm number one in line of not addressing this issue because I started my journey focused only on weight and restriction and all this stuff that was wonderful. It got me to like 180 pounds. I lost 130 something pounds, but it didn't fix me, because I didn't focus on this side. So what I'm saying is right now I'm in this messy middle of hammering through these emotional issues that I feel like every time I think I get a handle on it, a new situation comes and I self-destruct. So right now I'm in that messy middle where I'm not emphasizing my every ounce and being on losing weight every week, but I'm working on these issues and identifying these things. So when I'm doing it, I can maybe try and stop it or redirect it or, find a way to overcome it. So for instance, this weekend, we ate a keto meal, low carb. I would say it's more low carb. My husband smoked a brisket. I made coleslaw, like a keto coleslaw. I made, what do you call it? Like a cauliflower mac and cheese. Like the intentions were all there. But the quantity, like I had 2 platefuls. Like why was 1 plateful not enough? I already knew I was overeating and yet I had 2 platefuls. So it doesn't matter if you're eating keto food or fat-free or whatever the case may be. If you're overeating, you can't expect to lose weight. So then I'm like, ugh. So this morning I'm mad at myself. I ate too much, but even though it was keto, I'm doing my best, but why does this keep happening? So that's what we're going to talk about for this video. And that's the reason why I'm not focusing on the weight loss, because this keeps happening regardless of what the scale says. Like I said, I lost 130 something pounds and this is still an issue. So, and that's why I have to focus on figuring this out. And like, why? Like, why did I do that? Why did I need to go back for seconds? Why was 1 plate not enough? So it's so frustrating. And even at this point in my journey, I'm 3.5 years in and I'm still overeating. So I've been picking the brains of a bunch of my very actively fit friends up here. I've been picking, or I'm speaking of one girl actually, one of my childhood friends who never had an obesity problem, always lived an active and fit life. So like, I've got to pick your brain. Like how do you stop at just a little scoop of ice cream? How come you don't want the 3 scoops when we go out to ice cream? That kind of thing. And she's like, well, I've just always been a picky eater. And so that meant I didn't have as many options. So what I did have, it was like, whatever. And just food wasn't something that was so important to her. And to her, eating a half a sandwich was normal. Where me, I'm like, I can't imagine having a half a sandwich. I want all the sandwich. I want the big sandwich too, So it's like just listening to like the way she approaches eating and knowing the self-discipline that she has. She walks around the lake every day. Granted, high five from me, non-scale victory. I have been exercising with my other friend, Marjorie. Shout out to Marjorie. We've been walking around the lake. I think I walked around the lake 4 times last week, which is excellent. I'm supposed to be on vacation, but I'm still moving my body. I'm paddleboarding. I'm, doing all those things, and having fun, but I am still eating too much. You can't out-exercise a poor diet. So, but anyways, back on topic, like I was just picking her brain and like, how can she just stop at a couple of bites of something? Why does she not want the whole thing? Like I want the whole thing. I don't understand how you can stop. And, so it's just like just picking at her brain and having her help me. And her main thing comes down to self-discipline, like after a couple of bites, whatever, it's it. It's just that. It's just half a sandwich, she feels fine having that half sandwich and trusts her body that she'll eat again when she's hungry. So I'm just like, dang it, if it sounds too easy, but in my brain, it's like, oh my gosh, I just like, well, I'll be hungry in an hour if I don't eat the whole sandwich. And like all of that just noise in my head. And, this conversation's well over hours ago, but yet I'm still rehashing these situations in my head. So, but anyways, what it comes down to is there's this balance of self-discipline, a balance of restriction, and it's a balance of caring, because I find myself, I get distracted easily, and those things make me not care or make me create excuses of why it's okay to overeat this time. You know, it's just this one time. And that just turns into, well, you know, it was just that one time. It's okay if we have it 2 times. And it's just like this snowball effect where I just so get off track. And what it comes down to is there is a level of restriction when you're trying to lose weight. However, that level where you're comfortable with or what works for you is going to vary to, you know, person to person. Because I started off this journey 100% restricted, you know, like full keto, you know, nothing but what is keto. And as the journey evolved and I, you know, got into keto products and got into, you know, all this other stuff, this other noise, it enabled me to live the life that I used to live, because I could make a keto recipe of a keto cheesecake, you know, as if cheesecake was something I should be having all the time, but it's keto, so you can have it, you know, like that kind of thing. But so like when it originally started off, the weight fell off and it worked, but I was feeling so restricted that I found ways to let in the old Jess by just making it keto. And then that didn't work either. So I've been like a pinball in a pinball machine in this journey, because I'm just trying to find what works. I'm desperate to hunt that down. So, and that's why I can't even fathom worrying about the scale until I figure this stuff out, because it's just going to keep rehappening. It's why there's a yo-yo. It's why I keep yo-yoing and all that kind of thing. So where I'm in a good place right now, it's a messy middle, because I'm trying to really figure this stuff out and put that mental work in. And I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I feel like there's progress, and I haven't felt progress in a while. So I'm proud of that. But when it comes down to, you know, like, what's going on and what am I working through right now, and that is finding that level of self-discipline every day and trying to live to that expectation. Because if I'm wanting to lose weight, if I'm wanting to change my life, I can't eat and live like a 300-pound person and want to expect those things to work in a 180-pound person's body. Like, those are 2 different people. This person isn't eating enough to feed a 300-pound person, and this person is moving around all the time and watching, you know, and caring and having that self-discipline at meals and not making excuses, you know. So that's why there's the 2 different types of lifestyles, and I've been living in both, you know. So I'm trying to find that happy middle of what makes me happy, what makes me feel satisfied, which makes me not desire something else. And those things are pretty, as simple as that may sound, those things are huge. So right now, my goals currently are, I'm going to dial it in. For one, last week, eating too much was an eye-opener, because not only did I feel physically I ate too much, but the calorie counter, I mean, the food diary I was using, Carb Manager, was like, girl, you are done, tap out, you know. And yet I still ate dinner that night. So it's like, it's a tough predicament to be in, but it's a portion size problem. You know, I've got to learn to trust my body when I'm eating a meal and I've put down what I should be eating, that I will not die by the next meal. I mean, and it's that balance of knowing that this isn't the last time I'm ever going to eat, so I got to get it all in now. Because sometimes I feel that way, you know, if I let myself have a cupcake, right? Part of the restriction problem is that if I have a cupcake, I know this one time I'm allowing it, but cupcakes aren't allowed, right? So which means, well, I got to get all the cupcakes in while I can, because I can't have any more. And it's that restriction thing that I'm working through. So it's like, it's so complicated. And it seems like it should just be stop eating. Well, yeah, if that was the case, nobody would have a weight problem, because you just stop eating, you know. So, but learning the level of restriction that makes you feel like you can have progress, but you're not missing out, knowing that it's, you know, you have a lot of life left to live. There'll be more cupcakes. You don't have to eat every cupcake you have right now. You know, it's okay to not eat all of the cupcakes. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying I'm eating cupcakes all day. I'm just using it so you can understand the crazy that's in my head, that like, it's maddening. Because the restriction part of I feel like a lot of the issues that when I started yo-yoing or rebounding some of the weight back on is that's the feeling of being too restricted. So that leads me to my next point. What do I want? There's no point in doing something if you can't stick with it. You know, if you're not all in, you're not sold 100%. And one of the things that I'm learning is keto is very restrictive. I love eating keto, but it does make me feel rebellious. It makes me feel very restricted, and it makes me frustrated at times. However, I love eating keto. So like, if you just notch up a little bit on that restriction dial and dial it back a little bit and focus more on low carb, I feel like that's going to check all the boxes for me. So what I'm trying to say is, I know I can't eat the standard American diet. I cannot control myself around a bag of Oreos or a box of Oreos, whatever they come in. I know I can't control myself on that. They trigger me. So I know I don't feel my best eating Oreos. So those cannot be what I ultimately make my lifestyle, right? I also don't like the taste of a lot of the standard American diet anymore. And I don't know why. It tastes bland to me. It's not fulfilling what I used to get out of it. I don't get out of it anymore. So there's no point in eating that way. So it's another easy way to live a low carb lifestyle, because when I eat a nice colorful plate of met veggies and fruits and proteins, I leave my meal satisfied. Not only is it pretty with all the color, it tastes good and there's flavor. You can't get that out of a box. As much as I'd want to say that, you know, if like your grandma's got a home cooking recipe that, you know, she's been making for the past 7 years, I'm sure that's legit. But the stuff that comes in a box does not fulfill me anymore. So that's why it's like, what do I want? What will make me happy? And that's another thing that I'm working on right now. So I'm pivoting a little away from keto. And that's just because of having to meet certain macros. That's tough. You know, I like a lot of vegetables, and those add up when it comes to carbs. And I've never been somebody who has been so focused on fat. I've never really aimed to score the fat goals in my macros. I always thought it was too much. So like, again, I'm not hitting that. I never hit that when I was doing keto. But I would always worry about the carbs, because the carbs really were where I needed the work. You know, I don't overeat fat typically. I mean, on a normal day, I can overeat carbs. So obviously my focus was always watch the carbs. So if you're not worried so much about the percentages, and you just are not eating processed foods, you're avoiding sugar, you know, and you're just sticking to the basics like meat, vegetables, and seasonal fruits, that makes me happy. So like at the end of the day, like I'm happy about that decision. I've arrived to what I know works, what makes me happy, and what makes me keep going. And I know I feel so good eating a low carb / keto diet. I can't get that feeling eating the standard American diet. For one, I don't really typically overeat the low carb. It's harder to I mean, you can still do it. Obviously this weekend I did, but I'm just saying, you don't typically overdo it on just meat and vegetables. It's not highly palatable. There's flavor there, but it's not as easy to overeat as like a sleeve of Girl Scout cookies, you know, like those are so hyper palatable that you just can't stop at just one. So like basically what I've come to in the past week, all making this whole long story short, is you've got to pick something that works for you and you enjoy. And you might have to bounce off some walls of the wrong direction to get to this point. So I clearly know standard American diet, that is not for me. It makes me feel like shit. It makes me feel crappy. It makes my body get humongous. It doesn't do it for me anymore, and it's not healthy. But the keto was a little too restrictive, and it created some new binge eating things that I'm not familiar with, or maybe I'm not really, that weren't there prior. I mean, it was a portion size issue, obviously. It got me to 300 pounds, but I didn't really binge eat at 300 pounds. You know, it was like, oh, well, I can't just eat, you know, a normal size plate. My plate was this size instead of this size, you know, but I didn't sit there and just eat all day. So, I mean, the calories still were there, but it's just, it was a different approach to becoming obese. And now by restricting, I find myself where I do eat, you know, nothing until but I do find myself eating, you know, a whole package of something when I never did that before. So, but probably because I was too full before, but that same, you know, that's the idea I'm talking about. So, but low carb is like a happy medium. You're still not eating all of the processed junk, but you're not so restricted that you're worried about hitting fat and carb, and, you know, you're just eating healthy food, you know, that tastes good and you feel your best. So that's where I am at. It took a lot of digging to get here. And it took a lot of looking at other people's approach to also arrive here. So that's why I said it's like this mental thing is you got to understand everything and then dial it in at what works and then come up with your plan. So for me, I am obviously half the recipes that are low carb are also keto. So it's not like I'm taking a huge step, but low carb is where I ultimately think I was going to end up anyways. I was going to use keto to get there though, but not so much that it would create new issues. So I want to take a little bit slower of a pace and try the keto low carb approach and not just keto. So, so I hope that all makes sense. I am in my carfus. I may be filming a lot more videos this way, being that we have a bunch of family all coming into town this week. So this might be my only quiet place. But point being, I'm still making that effort, and I committed to a lot of videos this month because I knew it is so easy to get off track up here that I needed to keep myself accountable. So there's actually going to be a lot of videos this month, despite the chaos that's going to be happening up here at the lake. So anyways, I will see you at the next video. I am Jess. Comment below if you can relate to this video. I will see you at the next one. Have a good one. Go be great. Bye-bye.